Alright there guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, well, you know what time of year it is? It's the time of the year where every single company in the US and the UK, and any other country where being LGBT is very widely accepted, where they all change their logos to rainbow coloured, as if they're actually doing something, which they're not. Which can only mean one thing. It is Pride Month, once again. So of course I'm going to take that opportunity to make it the only time of the year I'll post any video related to LGBT related video at all. And this video is actually a follow-up video to one I made, to a video I made in Pride Month back in 2020, 2 years ago. There's a video on my channel that's called LGBT in Anime, and this video is a follow-up to that video, so that video will be linked in the description for anyone to check out. So, we're going to be talking about why, in my opinion, anime actually represents LGBT people better than any other form of media. And there's 3 examples that are going to be used through images in this video while I'm explaining them, and maybe I'll throw some without images I'll throw in as well. Okay, so let's get started. Let's start off with Haruhi Fujioka, just like I did in that video from 2 years ago. So Haruhi Fujioka is widely seen as a non-binary icon by people, and I completely disagree with that, because Haruhi Fujioka, and I said this in that video as well, is not, I repeat, not non-binary. She is female. You see, the problem there is that simply because she doesn't act like a stereotypical female character, that must mean she's not female. Since when was that a thing? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought people could express their gender in whatever way they wanted, and it doesn't change what their gender is. No, Haruhi Fujioka is not non-binary, she is female. And I feel like the reason why she's seen as a non-binary icon is because NB people feel the need to force their own identity, which doesn't really even have proof of existing in the first place, onto a character. The only person I will ever actually see as an icon, a non-binary icon, as an anime character, is Krona from Soul Eater, because he's actually non-binary. Like, the creator of the series actually confirmed it, whereas the creator of Ouran High School Host Club did not with Haruhi. But looking through different things that people were saying about her, I did see someone say that she's an androgynous icon, and you know what? That actually describes her a lot better, because someone can be androgynous, can act and look androgynous and still be male or female. Just because they don't look stereotypically female doesn't change the fact that they're still female. And that's probably the best way to describe Haruhi Fujioka. And also, Haruhi's dad is a good example of the representation where he's... Well, in the show, he's referred to as a transvestite. People find it a little bit strange, but no one actively shames Haruhi's dad for acting the way that he does. Not Haruhi, not any of the host club. Well, maybe Tamaki, because he thinks he's also Haruhi's father. But he's not treated any differently to any of the other characters, and that's the big thing with anime anime never has an LGBT character treated better or special because of their sexuality. Whereas in every other form of media, those type of characters do exist, where they're treated special or treated better than everyone else solely because of their sexuality. Whereas in anime, that is never the case. Now, on to the second example, we've got Sailor Moon. More specifically, Sailor Neptune and Sailor Uranus. Now, this pairing has had a bit of controversy over the years. The reason why Sailor Moon has two different English dubs, because you might have noticed that, Sailor Moon has two different English dubs. There's the Viz dub from Viz Media and the DIC dub. Basically, the DIC dub cut out all the LGBT related stuff and basically said that Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune were cousins. And then Viz Media did their own version of the English dub and added all the LGBT stuff from the original Japanese version back into the show. Now, I've not watched enough of Sailor Moon to actually see Sailor Uranus or Sailor Neptune. I've only ever watched the first season of the show, which I talked about last year. But even without watching it, I guarantee you Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune are not treated any differently by the characters in the show to any of the other Sailor Scouts. I guarantee you they are all treated exactly the same way, and they are not treated any worse or better simply because they're lesbians. And isn't that what LGBT people wanted when it comes to representation? To simply just exist in media like everyone else and not be treated any differently? I thought that was the goal. Maybe older LGBT people feel that way, but I bet the younger ones are like, no, we need people's sexualities to be made super obvious and we need to give them more praise. No, you don't. And bearing in mind, being LGBT is still not the most widely accepted thing in Japan. Like, it's way more widely accepted over here in the UK or in America than it is in Japan. And yet Japan doesn't force characters based on sexuality or race or something for the sake of diversity, which diversity is not even a good thing overall. Whereas over here and in America, so many shows have characters that are put in based on race or sexuality and not actually because they're good characters. I mean, High Guardian Spice is the perfect example of when something that claims to be an anime solely cares about diversity and nothing else, and it was an absolute train wreck. So, example number 3, we're going to go with Ryuko Matoi and Mako Mankancho from Kill la Kill. So, these two simply never really become a couple within the show. It's more like they probably become a couple after the end of the show. But even so, right at the end of Kill la Kill, Mako says to Ryuko that she wants to go on a date with her. And no one finds this odd or strange. And of course, Mako and Ryuko do actually end up going on a date as well. And they probably start dating after the end of the show. The overarching theme of all these examples is these characters are not treated any differently by the creators to how straight characters would be treated everyone is treated the same. No one is treated worse off or better off than anyone else based on immutable characteristics. And I guess I could give some more examples. I mean, we have Sasaki and Miyano, which I covered, of course, on the channel earlier this year. Now, that one was purely about being an LGBT anime, like, they very much emphasised it. But again, nor Sasaki or Miyano were treated any differently by any of the characters within the show, simply because they both realised that they were gay. They weren't treated any better off, and they weren't treated any worse off. The one thing anime very rarely did, or pretty much never did, was LGBT coming out scenes. This show actually did have one. And it was done in a comedic and funny way. Because coming out scenes are something people, at least the younger LGBT people, revel in. Even though they also say that people shouldn't have to come out anymore, but yet they freak out and go mental and start screeching when they see a coming out scene, proving that they do still want it to be around. And anime refuses to have any coming out scenes. When it comes to being LGBT in their show, in anime shows, the characters just already are gay and everyone knows it, and they're just treated exactly the same as anyone else. Which is how representation should work, if you think about it. If there's a character in a show that's not straight or not white, but they're treated exactly the same way as every other character in the show, and it doesn't feel like they've just been put in there for the sake of it, then you've clearly made a good character, and your representation has worked. Although the LGBT fan base of anime the LGBT part of the anime community can be very, very toxic at times. Such as, if you remember not that long ago, in Spy Family, someone made a viral TikTok about Spy Family, complaining that every character in the show is straight and white. These are the types of people you don't want speaking for the community, because that person only wants other characters who are not white in the show for the sake of diversity, not because they'd make a good character. This person is also complaining about every character in the show being straight, meaning they only want gay characters in the show for the sake of diversity and not to be a meaningful character. So those are always the people you don't really want to listen to when it comes to how LGBT representation in anime should work, because they don't actually care about making meaningful characters. They just want to force as much diversity onto anime as possible, which luckily anime has stayed quite far away from diversity, which is why it's so successful, and why it's so many people have started watching it over the last few years and going away from all the other types of media and gravitating towards anime. Of course, I'm not one of those people. I've been watching anime way longer than that, before any of that came about. And that is my video for Pride Month. What do you guys think? Do you think anime does a better job at representing LGBT people than other forms of media, since they don't really ever show LGBT people's struggles because they represent LGBT people the way in they're treated like everyone else. Like how LGBT people want society to look at them overall. Which is just like, just live as just as boring lives as anyone else. But that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And until next time, catch you later.